welcome. It is great to see you all here. Seeing all of you here tells me all I need to know about David and the type of person that David is. It's a Sunday afternoon and you're all here to support him, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. Before I start, I want to ask two questions. And just by the raise of your hands, you can let me know. How many of you here have read The Runnings? Okay. Okay. And how many of you here would be meeting Brandon Chong for the first time? Okay, good. A nice, diverse crowd, and I love that. So whether you're here reconnecting with Brandon or you're meeting him for the first time this evening, we're all here for the same reason. Tonight, this is not just the launch of a new book. Tonight, we continue the story of Brandon, the return of a remarkable Jamaican character, and the beginning of a new chapter in the way that the story will be shared. This evening, we meet Brandon Chong. He doesn't carry a gun into every room. He doesn't possess extraordinary strength. He doesn't wear a cape. His greatest weapon is his mind, and his greatest strength, his conscience. And yet, for many readers, Brandon Chong has become one of Jamaican fiction's most compelling heroes. But with every unforgettable character begins with one person's imagination. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you just to join me in welcoming Mr. David Wong Ken. So this is it's not an interview. We're learning about someone. We're meeting someone for the first time. And so these are just some questions from a curious mind, a new audience, if I may say so. And so we'll begin. My first question, and obviously I'm not starting with you, David. I'm going to talk about Brandon, who is the star of the show. If Brandon were to walk in this evening, barring he wouldn't be stopped by any security or anything like that, how would you introduce him to us?
Wow. Well, the Brandon that I know is not someone who would really want to be introduced. He's not someone who seeks attention. More an observer, more thoughtful, but not somebody who is flamboyant, not somebody who is powerful, somebody who is intelligent. So I would say Brandon is a conservative attorney, intelligent attorney. Yeah?
Fair. So we wouldn't know who Brandon is. We'd probably just have to skim through the crowd and see who's the most silent, observing, trying to stay away from people, basically. But dangerous. Okay. All right. Just to follow up, what makes Brandon different from the traditional thriller hero?
Well, the traditional hero would be a powerful person, somebody who would be magnetic and to whom people would be drawn. Brandon is not a powerful person. He's not a politician. He's not flamboyant. He is intelligent, and I think that's what would separate him from the typical hero. He knows what questions to ask, and then he's not afraid to pursue what he believes is correct.
Okay. And this is for the audience, so not a question, because they don't get to ask questions. But who here would say that they've ever started something and put it aside and find themselves returning to it years later? Whether it's a hobby, whether you sing or dance, you paint. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to doing something like that. And so after 20 years, that's a very long time. Why did you think this was the perfect time to continue his journey?
That is really a very tough one. I think I would start by saying that the story never went away, that Brandon never went away, that I started presumption of guilt in 2005. Life intervened. The practice, business, financial problems, all kinds of issues. And what I don't know about any other writers. I know there are at least two other writers in the crowd. I can't speak for them. But unless I can immerse myself in the story, it's impossible to write. And it's impossible to write if you have problems. You just can't get a clear view. So the important thing to recognize is that the story never went away. What happened though is in that 20-year period, I was able to resolve most of my issues, most of my problems. And the story called. The story really called me back. And what was fascinating to me, because it happened more in presumption than it did in the run-ins, is that even though you know the story, even though you know the fabric of the story actually takes you. The story took me in directions that I did not anticipate. And I think that's a big thing. If I had not had that 20-year period, I don't think Presumption of Guilt would be as good as I think it is. I hope you guys think it is good. I think it's a better book than the Run-ins. And I think the story benefited from that 20-year period.
Okay, great. So I think the theme there would be growth, that there was a sense of growth, and that's what we should look forward to seeing in the new novel. There is growth coming from that.
There's growth, but there's something else, and I guess it's a bit of a confession. In 2003, I had 3 stories that I wanted to tell. And I wanted to tell them because I was angry. I was really angry. So when I started Presumption, I was angry. When I wrote the run-ins, I was angry. But when I finished the Presumption, or when I started to write Presumption again, I was no longer angry. And I think the story is much better because of it.
Well, that's good. I personally think that, whether we're angry or whatever emotion that we're evoking, that it makes for good, in my field, poetry. So I can imagine how good the book is. And obviously, I have my copy, and I hope everyone will get their copy this evening so they can join you on that journey and see that growth that we speak of. One thing that strikes me the most is that Brandon isn't simply solving mysteries. He wrestles with justice, history, power, identity, and conscience. Was he always meant to ask those questions?
I think life prompts us all to ask those questions, and I think, as I was indicating before, Brandon, and I speak about Brandon as if he's a person, because for me he is. Brandon, his greatest strength is being able to ask the question. A lot of us are afraid to ask questions, but if you ask the right questions, then you can really progress. Brandon is not powerful, but he thinks that power has to be restrained and power has to be controlled. He doesn't have power as a politician. He's not a gunman. He's not one of these tough guys like a James Bond. History. I think unless we know our history, we can't understand people. History is what allows me and Brandon to understand people. Justice. I think without justice, you can't have society. You have to have justice. You have to be able to account. You have to hold people accountable. So, yeah, I think life has taught him to grapple with those issues.
And that will go back to his intellect and just how he used that, because really that is his superpower, his mind. Okay. All right, so we talked a lot about Brandon, and we hinted at, presumption of guilt. But what excites me is that Brandon's story isn't ending when we turn the final pages of the book. It's preparing now to reach audiences in a completely new way. And so we are going to go into that conversation and the talk about moving Brandon into this space of radio and what we can expect with that.
Well, radio for me is a really exciting media. I believe that as a writer, I need to try and reach my audience wherever they are. And I think radio satisfies a large segment of that. I will tell you this, though, that when the idea occurred that we could do a radio series, because all of you would remember Dulcimina, all these radio programs that we used to have. Very entertaining. When I approached Cliff Hughes and Nationwide about this idea, there was no hesitation, none at all. Cliff particularly, was so encouraging and so enthusiastic about it that I think his enthusiasm is likely greater than mine. So the job now is to finish the episodes, launch a radio series, which we're hoping would be around September. Don't hold us too tightly to that, but we're looking around that time. George Davis is here. George could likely speak more to the radio than I, but I'm really excited about it. One of the things we have to recognize is that Jamaica is small, and the readers in Jamaica are relatively small. So to make this thing successful, to get to the movie franchises, which we really want to do, then you need to get it out there. And thankfully Nationwide is on board, and I'm really grateful to them.
Yeah, that is very exciting. And I'm glad that, we do have someone here from Nationwide, George Davis. I'm going to invite you, if you don't mind, this wasn't planned, just to talk to us a little bit more about, from that perspective, and what is it that we can expect coming out of radio and Nationwide.
Good afternoon, everyone. So he mentioned Dulcimina, that ran from 1967 to 1980, 13 years. Then after that, that was Elaine Perkins' production, yes? Then after that, we had Wrong Move, which of course was Barbara Gludon, which of course was iconic. Dulcimina ended before my time. I heard of it being born down in the 80s. The radio drama in Jamaica has a special pride of place, and popular culture took a lot from the radio drama. The Dulcimina grip. Even if you never listen to Dulcimina, you know a Dulcimina grip when you see one. The names, press of foot, several characters from Dulcimina who became associated with other characters in other productions. Wrong Move the same, especially the Josie Wales theme song, Wrong Move, which gave it currency in popular culture that elevated the production. And of course, other small form radio productions that we've seen over time. RGR had several, the Bishops, several others that I'm thinking of the characters. There's one that Don Topping voiced, Beverly Heights, Jamaica. Very, very gripping intro. So the point is being made that the radio drama in Jamaica has had currency over time. Now, we're not making a radio drama. This is a brilliant book, The Runnings is. So it is to serialize the aspects of it that can go on radio, because it is very steamy in parts without giving away the plot. And it is to bring the book into a medium to meet people where they access content. Yeah? So not many people like us gathered here are readers and want to feel a hard copy in our hands as I do. I read electronic things all the time, but there's just nothing like a real book in hand. Some people want to get from the book what is in the book, but they don't fancy holding a book to read. So we're trying to meet those people halfway, and the production will be geared towards achieving that objective. So it's not that is just one person just reading aspects of the book. No, it's a production being done by and being directed by someone who has a filmography. Yeah, so highly skilled directing the episode to make it into a quality production for consumption. The book, I stress again, is very, very good. One of the things with books, and I don't think many writers get it, books have to have pace. If the pace of the book is slow, you won't finish it. If the pace of the book if it starts with a good pace from the start, and it doesn't flag as the story is fleshed out, that's the first characteristic of a good book. And then, of course, good characters. And then, of course, I mean, I was very proud of the fact of the Chinese hero. David says he's not a superhero, but by the time you're finished, you're saying, well, what a man. And it's very rare. I mean, think of all of the brilliant novels that have been written over time by any of your favorite Jamaican writers. Gina Costa, Olive Senior, Claude McKay, John Hearn. Think of the legendary names. The titular characters have never been of Chinese origin. My mother is Chinese, so I'm very happy that a Chinaman star in our book. Yeah. So from that perspective, it hits different, as they say in the streets. And then David keeps making the point that the character is intelligent, and that's something that you want to make come alive through the serialization of the books. But more than intelligence, the character is very calculating. In times of trouble, the character doesn't panic, and he leans on his legal training, which, of course, I didn't study law, but I'm sure you'd agree. Learning law teaches you to compartmentalize and then to link with strands or with something stronger than a strand, the various things that you've compartmentalized to achieve the goal. That's what is done brilliantly well through the character in the book. And then the supporting characters are there. I mean, he benefits from a legacy relationship that his father established. And I'm telling you these things to tantalize you about what is within the pages of the book and what we're hoping to bring alive through the serialization. So we have a signed agreement. So it's not a handshake that we partnership. We have a signed agreement to bring this thing to the public. And we hope through your feedback to make it better as the episodes roll out. So look forward to the serialization of the book, but read the book. It is very well written, very well developed characters, and it will be worth your time.
Boy, when I hear George speak about the writer and the book, I wonder if it's me. Thank you, George. I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, George. Thank you for that insight. And I'm for one is looking forward to Nationwide. I think I vaguely remember hearing the stories on radio, so I'm one of those persons, the newer generation that is looking forward to that. And I have a final question. I know you want to go, but I have a final question for you. We would have introduced Brandon Chong to the new generation of readers like myself. And as everyone, again, like I said, leaves with a copy of Presumption of Guilt this evening in their hands, what do you hope stays with them long after they've turned the final page? So when we're done reading, what do you hope stays with us?
You know, the first thing I hope is that you enjoy it. That's the very, very first thing. I hope you enjoy reading the book. I think I tried in both novels. I tried to raise questions and make some social or socio-political type of observations and comments. If when you finish the book, some of those questions linger with you, and if when you finish the book, it prompts you, you feel prompted to ask additional questions, then I think I would have done a good job. So first, I hope you enjoy it. Secondly, I hope it prompts you to ask questions about what the subject matter of the book. I mean, yes, there's action and all of that, but underneath it all, there's a story, there's a line. And I'm hoping that you recognize it and that you ask questions that the book prompts you to ask.
Thank you. And for everyone here, in case your mind is like mine and you're wondering, Are we waiting 20 more years for what's to come after this? Because when I finish the episode and I really finish reading, I'm ready for what's next. So are you prepared for that?
Well, where's my editor? I have actually started the third one. I like it. And I hope not to have to make the same mistakes that I made 20 odd years ago. That would end me back up in turmoil and preoccupation that crowds out the story. So hopefully no. You give me 18 months.
And we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to getting our copies, reading, listening, just being a part of Brandon's journey. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. We welcome back Brandon, of course. We've introduced him to new readers like myself, and we're looking ahead to his overall journey. So before everyone leaves this evening, I just encourage you to grab your book. David is here to have the conversation. Questions that I may not have asked that you want to pull him one side and ask, I'm giving you permission. And of course, he'll be signing books this evening as well. And we'll just continue the conversation. We invite you to just, mingle, talk. David is here at your full disposal. Maybe a little bit of Brandon is here as well. So thank you and good evening.